You know that feeling when an open-world game doesn't just want your time, it politely steals your soul and somehow you thank it afterward? Yeah, this video is about those games. The ones that make side quests feel like life choices and exploration feel dangerous in the best way. These are 20 perfect 10 out of 10 open-world games you absolutely must play. Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 doesn't ask you to play it, it asks you to live in it. From the moment you step into Rockstar's version of the dying Wild West, the game slows your heartbeat down and says, "Take your time, this world isn't going anywhere." And it means it. Every muddy trail, foggy mountain, and sun-soaked plain feels handcrafted with absurd levels of detail. Towns feel alive, strangers feel unpredictable, and nature itself feels like it has moods. The story quietly builds around a cast that feels painfully human. Flawed, tired, hopeful, and stubborn in ways that stick with you long after the controller's down. Gameplay leans into realism without becoming tedious. Gunfights feel heavy, horseback travel feels earned, and even small interactions carry weight. Side content isn't filler, it's where the soul of the game really breathes, rewarding curiosity instead of checklist behavior. This isn't just an open-world game, it's a slow-burn masterpiece that proves immersion doesn't need constant explosions. If you want a world that respects patience and rewards presence, Red Dead Redemption 2 is still untouchable.
Don't run away from me! Y'all gotta share a grave, you hear?
Ghost of Yotei. If Ghost of Tsushima was a perfectly sharpened katana, Ghost of Yotei feels like that blade being reforged in colder steel. This is the kind of game that doesn't shout for your attention. It lets the wind, the snow, and the silence do the talking. Set in a harsher, more unforgiving frontier, the world feels less like a postcard and more like a place that dares you to survive it. The setting is breathtaking in a quiet way. Snow-covered fields, dense forests, and lonely roads stretch endlessly, creating a mood that feels heavier, more contemplative. Every step forward feels earned. The story leans into themes of honor, isolation, and identity, told through grounded characters who feel shaped by the land they live in rather than defined by grand speeches. Combat builds on precision and timing, rewarding patience over button mashing. Sword fights feel personal, quick, deadly, and tense, while exploration encourages you to follow curiosity instead of map icons. Side activities don't feel like distractions, they feel like pieces of the world revealing themselves naturally. Ghost of Yotei feels like a confident evolution, less flashy, more focused, and deeply atmospheric. If you want an open world that respects subtle storytelling and razor-sharp gameplay, this one absolutely earns its place here. Elden Ring. Elden Ring is what happens when a game looks you in the eye, smiles politely, and then pushes you off a cliff for your own personal growth. This is From Software taking their famously punishing formula and dropping it into a massive open world that doesn't care if you're ready. And somehow, that's the magic. The lands between are hauntingly beautiful. Golden fields fade into cursed swamps, ruined castles loom in the distance, and every horizon line feels like a promise and a threat. There's no hand-holding here. The world invites exploration through curiosity, not quest markers, and every discovery feels earned because you weren't told to be there. The story is fragmented and mysterious, told through environments, cryptic characters, and lore crumbs that reward attention without forcing exposition. Combat is deep, demanding, and brutally fair. Every weapon, spell, and build feels viable, and every victory feels personal, because the game made sure you suffered a little first. Side content is everywhere, and nearly all of it hides something memorable, whether it's a strange NPC, a terrifying dungeon, or a boss that ruins your evening. Elden Ring doesn't just challenge your skill, it challenges your curiosity. If you want an open world that trusts you to figure things out and respects your intelligence, this is a masterpiece. Death Stranding 2. Death Stranding 2 is the rare sequel that doesn't ask, how do we make this bigger? It asks, how do we make this weirder, deeper, and somehow more human? And honestly, that's exactly what you want from a Hideo Kojima game. This is still an open world about traversal, connection, and vibes, but now it feels more confident in its own strange identity. The world is hauntingly beautiful and unsettling in equal measure. Vast landscapes stretch out in silence, broken only by weather, terrain, and the constant sense that you're very small in a very big place. It's not about racing from objective to objective, it's about the journey between them, where every hill, river, and ruined structure matters. Story-wise, the game continues to explore themes of connection, isolation, and rebuilding, delivered through surreal imagery and characters who feel deliberately off-kilter in that Kojima way. Gameplay expands on traversal, tools, and decision-making, making movement itself the core challenge, and, strangely, the core satisfaction. Optional content encourages experimentation, cooperation, and creative problem-solving rather than traditional combat grind. Death Stranding 2 isn't trying to please everyone, and that's its greatest strength. If you want an open world that feels meditative, bold, and unapologetically different, this is one you'll remember. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 doesn't care if you feel powerful, it cares if you feel authentic. This is an open world that proudly refuses fantasy shortcuts and instead drops you into a brutally grounded medieval Europe where skill is learned, not gifted. You don't become a hero overnight. You earn competence through failure, practice, and the occasional humiliating defeat. The world feels lived in and historically rich. Villages aren't theme parks. They're messy, muddy places full of routine, politics, and people just trying to survive. Forests feel dense and dangerous, roads feel risky, and every town has its own rhythm. The story continues to focus on personal struggle and social consequence, where choices matter because the world remembers them. Combat is deeper and more deliberate than most RPGs, emphasizing positioning, stamina, and timing over flashy animations. You'll feel clumsy at first, and that's intentional. Exploration rewards patience, preparation, and learning the systems rather than rushing objectives. Side quests are where the game truly shines, often unfolding like miniature historical dramas instead of simple errands. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is not for players looking for instant gratification, but if you want an open world that respects realism, consequence, and growth, this is one of the most rewarding journeys you can take.
Hillary, show your stuff! I'll rip your ass open!
Don't think I won't hack you to pieces.
I've been waiting for you!
Now you'll see what we do with criminals.
Come on then!
Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn opens with a simple question. What if the world ended and robots took over, but in the coolest way possible? And then it commits fully. This is a lush post-apocalyptic world where nature has reclaimed the ruins of the old age and mechanical beasts roam like wildlife. Somehow, it works beautifully. The world is vibrant and diverse, snowy mountains, sunlit valleys, dense forests, all stitched together with a sense of mystery. Every environment feels purposeful, like it's hiding stories beneath the grass and metal. The narrative follows a personal journey of identity and discovery, grounded by a protagonist who feels curious, capable, and human in a world that constantly reminds you how small you are. Combat is where the game truly flexes. Fighting machines isn't about brute force, it's about strategy. Targeting weak points, setting traps, and adapting on the fly makes every encounter feel like a tactical puzzle instead of a brawl. Exploration is deeply rewarding, with side quests that expand the world rather than distract from it. Horizon Zero Dawn nails that rare balance of spectacle and substance. It's an open world that looks incredible, plays smart, and respects your time. If you love discovery-driven adventures with satisfying combat, this one's essential.
Try jumping now!
Batman Arkham City. Batman Arkham City is what happens when a developer understands the assignment perfectly. Instead of giving you Gotham, Rocksteady locks you inside its worst neighborhood, hands you the cape and cowl, and says, "Good luck." The result is one of the tightest, most stylish open worlds ever made. Arkham City feels dense, vertical, and constantly dangerous. Neon lights cut through the darkness, criminals whisper your name in fear, and every rooftop feels like a launch pad. The city isn't massive, but it's layered. Every alley, tower, and hidden room feels intentionally placed. The story weaves together iconic characters without drowning you in fan service. Everyone feels true to their role, and the tone balances comic book flair with grounded menace. Combat is smooth, rhythmic, and endlessly satisfying, making you feel like Batman without turning you into an unstoppable god. Predator sections turn stealth into a psychological weapon, and exploration rewards curiosity with lore and challenges. Side content never feels like padding. It feels like being Batman on a busy night. Arkham City is proof that open worlds don't need to be huge. They need to be focused. If you've ever wanted to be the Dark Knight, this is still the gold standard.
Some kind of fight going on over there!
The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Skyrim is less a video game and more a lifestyle choice you accidentally make at 2 a.m. You boot it up just to explore, and suddenly it's been 10 years and you're still finding new caves. That's the power of Bethesda's icy fantasy sandbox. It doesn't rush you, it absorbs you. The world of Skyrim feels vast, cold, and wonderfully unpredictable. Snow-covered mountains loom in the distance, ancient ruins hide beneath forests, and every road feels like it might lead to something completely unplanned. The setting thrives on atmosphere, with ambient music and environmental storytelling doing most of the heavy lifting. The story is flexible by design, letting you define your character through actions rather than cutscenes. Characters and factions pull you in different directions, making the world feel reactive. Combat is straightforward but versatile, encouraging experimentation with weapons, magic, and stealth. Side quests are where Skyrim truly becomes legendary. You'll enter a dungeon for a small task and walk out hours later with a story you'll actually remember. Skyrim isn't perfect because it's polished. It's perfect because it lets you exist in its world. If freedom is your favorite game mechanic, this is non-negotiable.
Time to finish this! That's all you got! I'll bury you!
Days Gone. Days Gone starts with a simple fantasy, riding a motorcycle through a ruined world. Then it slowly reveals its real goal, making you afraid of what's hiding just beyond your headlights. This isn't a zombie game in a hurry. It's one that lets tension simmer, then boils it over when you least expect it. The world is bleak but beautiful. Broken highways cut through forests and mountains, abandoned towns feel eerily quiet, and weather plays a huge role in mood and survival. Riding your bike isn't just travel, it's lifeline management. Fuel, damage, and upgrades matter, which makes exploration feel earned instead of automatic. The story leans heavily into loss, loyalty, and survival, carried by characters who feel rough around the edges but emotionally grounded. Combat mixes stealth, gunplay, and improvisation, with encounters that can spiral into chaos fast, especially when the game decides to remind you that you're very much not the apex predator. Side activities encourage preparation and world mastery, and the longer you play, the more confident and attached you become. Days Gone is a slow-burn open world that rewards patience. Stick with it, and it delivers tension, atmosphere, and some of the most memorable large-scale encounters in the genre. Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima feels like stepping into a moving painting, one that occasionally asks you to draw a sword and absolutely ruin someone's day. From the first gust of wind guiding your path, the game commits fully to elegance, restraint, and atmosphere. This is an open world that doesn't clutter your screen. It lets the landscape lead. The island of Tsushima is stunning. Golden fields sway in the wind, crimson leaves blanket forest paths, and distant temples quietly invite exploration. The world feels curated without feeling artificial, blending natural beauty with subtle storytelling. Every location has purpose even when it's saying very little. The story centers on honor, identity, and adaptation, told through grounded characters who feel shaped by the conflict around them. Combat is fast, lethal, and deeply satisfying. Sword fights emphasize timing and positioning, making every duel feel cinematic without sacrificing control. Exploration and side quests are woven naturally into the experience, often revealing small, emotional stories that deepen the world. Ghost of Tsushima understands pacing better than most open-world games. It knows when to be quiet and when to go full samurai cinema. If you want a world that respects both beauty and brutality, this one belongs in your library. Marvel's Spider-Man. Marvel's Spider-Man understands something crucial right away. If swinging through a city doesn't feel amazing, nothing else matters. Thankfully, Insomniac absolutely nailed it. From the first leap off a skyscraper, movement alone is enough to put a grin on your face, and it never really goes away. New York City feels alive, vertical, and perfectly scaled for momentum-based traversal. You're not just moving through the world, you're dancing with it. Rooftops, streets, and landmarks blur together as the city becomes your playground. The tone strikes a great balance between comic book energy and grounded emotion, giving the story room to breathe without ever feeling heavy-handed. Combat is fast, fluid, and stylish, blending gadgets, acrobatics, and environmental awareness. It's accessible but deep, rewarding creativity instead of button mashing. Side activities are varied enough to keep things fresh, and exploration feels natural because you're already having fun just getting from place to place. This is one of those rare open worlds where traversal is the star. Even after the credits, swinging around never gets old. If you've ever wanted to feel like Spider-Man, not just play as him, this game absolutely delivers.
Spider-Man! Tell the boss is here!
Horizon Forbidden West. Horizon Forbidden West doesn't just expand on what came before, it polishes it until it gleams. This is the sequel that looks at its already stunning world and says, cool, now let's make it breathe. From the moment you step into the western frontier, the scale and detail hit immediately. The world is lush, colorful, and incredibly alive. Dense jungles, sunken cities, arid deserts, and vibrant settlements blend seamlessly, making exploration feel like a reward rather than a task. Every region has its own personality, and the environmental storytelling quietly pulls you forward. The narrative continues with a strong focus on discovery and responsibility, driven by characters who feel more expressive and grounded than ever. Combat is deeper and more tactical, expanding enemy variety and giving you more tools to approach each fight creatively. Whether you're dismantling machines piece by piece or planning encounters carefully, the gameplay consistently rewards smart play. Side content feels meaningful, often offering strong world building instead of busy work. Forbidden West is what happens when a studio listens, refines, and commits. If you love the first game or just want one of the most visually impressive open worlds ever made, this is an easy recommendation.
Raiders, riding machines. This is not good. Better be careful. There might be more. Yep, another one. I need to get clear. That was close.
Kingdom Come: Deliverance. Kingdom Come Deliverance opens by stripping away nearly every power fantasy you've learned to expect. No magic, no chosen one energy, just you, a sword you barely know how to use, and a medieval world that absolutely will not cut you any slack. And that's exactly why it works. The world is grounded, muddy, and richly detailed. Villages feel functional rather than flashy. Forests feel genuinely dangerous, and roads feel like places where bad decisions happen. Everything exists with a sense of historical intention, pulling you into a setting that feels lived in rather than designed for convenience. The story is deeply personal, focusing on survival, growth, and navigating a rigid social structure. Characters feel human, flawed, stubborn, and shaped by the era they live in. Combat is deliberate and challenging, demanding patience, practice, and positioning. You'll fail often early on, but the progression feels incredibly earned. Side quests are where the game truly shines, often playing out like grounded medieval dramas instead of typical RPG errands. Kingdom Come Deliverance isn't trying to be fun in the traditional sense, it's trying to be authentic. If you're willing to meet it on its terms, it delivers one of the most rewarding open-world experiences out there.
You gonna cry now?
Add it up. Yeah. Head up. Is that all you've got?
You call that combat?
Cyberpunk 2077. Cyberpunk 2077 is the kind of game that pulls you into a neon-lit alley, hands you a chrome implant, and whispers, "Things are about to get messy." Night City doesn't gently invite you in, it overwhelms you. Lights flash, crowds move with purpose, and the city feels alive in that chaotic, slightly dangerous way that makes exploration addictive. The world is dense, vertical, and dripping with atmosphere. Every district has its own identity, from corporate steel towers to grimy backstreets that feel one bad decision away from disaster. The story focuses on identity, ambition, and survival in a world where everything, including people, has a price. Characters feel sharp, flawed, and memorable, carrying conversations that stick with you long after you walk away. Gameplay gives you freedom to approach situations your way. Gunplay, hacking, stealth, and melee builds all feel viable, encouraging experimentation. Combat is fast and flashy when it needs to be, but also tactical if you slow things down. Side quests are where Cyberpunk truly shines. Many of them feel like fully realized stories instead of optional distractions. Cyberpunk 2077 is at its best when you stop rushing and let Night City absorb you. Do that, and it becomes unforgettable. The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom feels like Nintendo looked at an already legendary open world and said, what if we let players completely break it on purpose? And somehow, that confidence pays off. This isn't just an expansion of ideas, it's a playground powered by creativity, curiosity, and delightful chaos. The world feels familiar, yet transformed. Vast landscapes stretch beneath floating islands in the sky, mysterious depths below, and secrets layered everywhere in between. Exploration is no longer just about where you go, it's how you get there. The atmosphere constantly nudges you to experiment, rewarding imagination over optimization. The story unfolds gently, letting discovery and emotion coexist without rushing you. Characters feel warm, grounded, and quietly meaningful, reinforcing the sense that this world has history and heart. Gameplay is where Tears of the Kingdom truly flexes. Building, improvising, and problem-solving turn combat and traversal into a personal expression. There's no single right solution, just your solution. Side activities feel endless, and replayability comes naturally because no two players approach problems the same way. This game doesn't just respect player freedom, it celebrates it. If you want an open world that trusts your creativity and rewards curiosity, this is pure magic. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. The Witcher 3 doesn't drop you into a fantasy world to make you feel powerful. It drops you in to make you feel responsible. From the moment you step onto its war-torn roads, the game establishes a tone that's mature, morally gray, and refreshingly uninterested in simple answers. The world is massive and deeply atmospheric. Muddy villages, haunted forests, stormy coastlines. Everything feels worn down by time and conflict. It's a setting where beauty and misery coexist, and that contrast is what makes exploration so compelling. Every corner feels like it has a story, even before someone starts talking. Speaking of stories, this is where the game becomes legendary. Characters feel layered and human, often forcing you to make choices that don't come with clean outcomes. Combat blends swordplay, magic, and preparation, encouraging you to think like a hunter rather than a brawler. Preparation matters, and rushing in rarely ends well. Side quests are famously strong, often outshining main storylines in other games. They're meaningful, surprising, and emotionally grounded. The Witcher 3 is the gold standard for narrative-driven open worlds. If you want a game where your choices actually feel like they matter, this one is essential. Grand Theft Auto 5. Grand Theft Auto 5 is pure controlled chaos, the kind of game where you plan to do one quick mission and somehow end up parachuting onto a moving train for reasons you can't fully explain. Los Santos isn't just a map, it's a satire-filled playground that constantly tempts you into distraction, and it's better for it. The world is massive, varied, and ridiculously alive. Sun-soaked beaches sit next to grimy alleyways, luxury hills overlook urban sprawl, and the desert feels like a completely different game entirely. Every area has its own personality, reinforced by radio chatter, NPC behavior, and environmental storytelling that never stops talking, even when you're not listening. The story balances crime, absurdity, and sharp social commentary through a cast that couldn't be more different, yet somehow works together. Gameplay is flexible and fast-paced, mixing gunplay, driving, and cinematic set pieces without ever feeling restrictive. Exploration is constantly rewarded, whether through random events, hidden details, or just letting the world react to your nonsense. Side content is almost overwhelming, in the best way. GTA 5 is still unmatched in how alive and reactive its open world feels. If you want freedom, chaos, and personality wrapped into one unforgettable sandbox, this is essential.
Man down, shoot that gas can! Follow me, let's get through this! There's the fool on the balcony! Somebody tell them niggas it's illegal repossession!
You sure pick the right people to pick a fight with, nigga.
They trying to build, get that ride! Damn! Some more of them niggas! Light them niggas up!
Man, Dad.
You still breathing, homie?
Yeah, barely, homie.
Shit, we gotta get the fuck away from this shit. Man, we only came here.
Ghostwire Tokyo. Ghostwire Tokyo opens with one of the boldest vibes in modern open-world games. An entire city emptied of people, glowing with neon signs, rain-soaked streets, and something very wrong lurking just out of sight. It's less open-world checklist and more urban ghost story you get lost inside. Tokyo is recreated with eerie detail. Narrow alleys, towering skyscrapers, shrines tucked between convenience stores, everything feels authentic, yet unsettling. The emptiness is intentional, and it works. Instead of crowds, you're surrounded by atmosphere, letting the city itself become the main character. Fog rolls in, spirits drift through the air, and the silence keeps you on edge. The story leans into folklore and mystery, introducing characters and concepts rooted in Japanese mythology without overwhelming you. Combat is refreshingly different, focusing on hand gestures, elemental attacks, and precision rather than traditional gunplay. It's stylish, rhythmic, and surprisingly satisfying once it clicks. Side content encourages exploration and lore discovery, often revealing small, creepy stories that deepen the world. Ghostwire Tokyo won't be for everyone, but if you appreciate mood, atmosphere, and a unique take on open-world design, this game feels like a late-night walk you won't forget. Death Stranding. Death Stranding is the kind of game that sounds boring on paper and then quietly rewires your brain once you actually play it. Yes, you're delivering packages. No, it's not a joke. And somehow, it becomes one of the most tense, thoughtful, and strangely emotional open-world experiences out there. The world is vast, empty, and hauntingly beautiful. Rolling hills, rocky cliffs, endless rain, and long stretches of silence make you feel truly alone. But that isolation is the point. Every step matters. Every route you plan feels personal. The environment isn't just a backdrop, it's the main challenge, constantly testing your balance, patience, and decision-making. The story leans into themes of connection, loneliness, and rebuilding, told through surreal imagery and characters that feel unmistakably Kojima. Odd, memorable, and layered. Gameplay turns traversal into strategy. Tools, structures, and shared player creations slowly transform the world, making progress feel communal rather than solitary. Optional content rewards exploration and cooperation in subtle ways, encouraging you to help strangers you'll never meet. Death Stranding isn't for everyone, but for those it clicks with, it hits hard. It's an open world that proves slow doesn't mean shallow. Mad Max. Mad Max is pure wasteland catharsis, the kind of game that smells like gasoline, rust, and bad decisions. From the moment you fire up the engine, it understands the fantasy. A brutal world where survival is earned, cars are sacred, and silence can be just as threatening as explosions. The open world is a scorched, sun-blasted desert that feels hostile by design. Twisted metal juts out of the sand, abandoned strongholds beg to be dismantled, and storms roll in like nature itself is angry at you. It's bleak, but deliberately so, and that commitment makes the setting unforgettable. The story is simple and primal, focusing on survival, revenge, and obsession. Characters are strange, desperate, and perfectly suited to the wasteland. Combat blends crunchy hand-to-hand brawling with vehicle mayhem, making every fight feel raw and physical. Car combat, in particular, is the star. Upgrading your vehicle feels as important as upgrading yourself. Side activities revolve around domination and control, slowly turning chaos into order through sheer effort. Mad Max doesn't reinvent the open-world formula, but it executes its vision with confidence. If you want a game that trades elegance for brutality and absolutely commits to it, this one roars its way into 10 out of 10 territory.
Shit lizard! They're walking for me! Stop!
And that's the list. 20 open worlds that didn't just give us maps, but gave us memories, lost sleep, and a permanent backlog problem. If one of these stole your heart or your free time, drop it in the comments. If you enjoyed hanging out, hit like, subscribe, and stick around. More deep dives, more game love, and another list like this? Yeah, it's coming.